Authentication looks extremely hard when you first get started with it. You just have no idea how to make things work, what are the best practices, and how to handle security. Well, in this video, I'll show you how easy it is to get started with it. We will not just learn how to sign up and log in, but we'll also implement things like email verification by sending a 6-digit code to the user. And once they verify their account, we will send a welcome email by introducing our platform. We are also going to learn how to build a reset password logic by sending an email. Once the user sets the new password, this time we will send a success email. And sending all these emails is free thanks to Mailtrap, which is sponsoring this video. I already fell in love with the Node.js SDK and we will learn how to use it later in the video. And there will be a link in the description where you can sign up to be able to follow along with the tutorial. When it comes to the tech stack, on the front end we will be using React and Tailwind. For the database, we will use MongoDB, and on the server, we'll be using Node and Express. We will build this auth system with JSON Web Tokens, and we will consider security risks as well. And at the end, we will deploy this application completely for free. And hopefully, after this tutorial, you will feel a lot more comfortable with the authentication concepts. So if you're ready, don't forget to subscribe, and let's get into it. Okay, so let's get started. I have just created an empty folder on my desktop. I call it as auth tutorial and then I just open it up in VS Code. In the first section of this course, we will be focusing on the backend part. So let's create a folder for this. And later in the video, we're going to focus on the front end part. So let's create one more folder for this. And we'll be focusing on this one first. Now first, I just want to create a node module. Right? So let's initialize this. I will say npm init-y, and if you're wondering how did I open this with a shortcut, it is Ctrl-J. You can open it up and close that off, just toggle the state with it. Okay, let's say npm init-y, which is going to give us a package.json file in the root of our directory. And we'll be using this in the root is because this will be really easy to deploy this application in one place. So this would make a lot of sense once we get into the deployment. Let's clear up our console with CLS, and maybe I'll just shut this off so that we can see the entire line. And let's go ahead and install all the packages that we would need for the server part. So let's say npm install, we're gonna get Express, and let's just type all of them and then I'll explain one by one. Let's say Express cookie-parser, and let's say Mailtrap. Let's say bcrypt.js.env, and we'll be using JSON Web Token. Let's say Mongoose, and finally crypto package. So we'll be using all of them, one by one, and I'll explain each of them in detail, but let's just quickly just see in short. So Express is going to be the web framework that we'll be using to be able to just have that setup, that server and routing in the first place. Then we'll be using cookie parser to be able to parse the cookie from the request, and we'll be using Mailtrap Node.js SDK to be able to send emails, which is going to be our email delivery platform. And we'll be using bcrypt.js, which is going to allow us to hash the passwords. And if you don't know what that means, once we use it, you'll see how that works and what that is. Then we'll be using .env to be able to read the data in a .env file, which is going to be our environment variables, right? Then we will have JSON Web Token package, where we can create the tokens and decode them and just have the authentication in the first place. And we'll have Mongoose to be able to interact with our database, which is going to be MongoDB. And this is going to make the process a lot easier and just have some kind of like, English kind of sentence feeling, but in code. Then we'll have the crypto package. This is going to give us some kind of auto-generated numbers, and once we use it, I think we'll just see this in action. So that would be my summary of these packages. Let's press enter. It's gonna install all of them, and it's gonna put them into the package.json file, as well as creating a node modules folder in the root. So let's wait for this to complete. Hopefully we should be able to see them here, and Here it says it is completed successfully, and I don't know why do I have this B in the terminal. Let's delete it. And I just want to install a dev dependency, which is going to be nodman. Let's say npm I or install, doesn't really matter. Let's say nodman and -d. This is going to make sure that this package will be a dev dependency. So let's wait for this. There we go. And we'll see what this package does if you haven't seen this before. So I'll go into the backend folder and just create a server.js file. You can't really call this anything. The convention might be like index.js, main.js, app.js. You know, this could be really anything. I think I'll just go with index.js. Why not, right? And now the general or the traditional way of importing something in Node would be this common.js, where we just say const express require express or whatever the package is. But instead I just want to use import syntax. So I would say something like import express from express. Okay, instead of this, I'd like to use this one. And to be able to make this work, we need to go into the package.json, and here we should create this field called type, and by default it is common.js, which is this one, right? And I want to make this to be module. And with this, now we can use import export syntax. Okay, let's save this and let's create an app. I'll say const app. And if you are like complete beginner to Node.js or this kind of like MERN stack, I just have a complete tutorial on this where I just walk you through the entire process, and it's about 2 hours long. You can take a look at this, take a look at that video. And here I might be a little bit more focusing on the authentication instead of this kind of stack. But again, I'll just try to make everything, you know, be just beginner friendly. So just wanted to mention that out. So let's say app express, we can listen for a port. I'll just say app.listen. We can give any port. For now, let's just say 3000, and let's say server is running on port 3000, right? Okay, let's save this file, and now we'd like to run this file. We can open up our terminal and just say something like node, go under the backend and run this file, and we should be able to see this console. There we go. And let's send a response back. So let's say app.get. If we visit the homepage, we should be able to see something like hello world maybe. Okay, let's save and just visit localhost 3000. And we're gonna see nothing. It's because we added this part right after we started our server. We need to kill this and just run this again. And now if we refresh, we're gonna get this. Let's say I said hello world 123, I save, and if I refresh this, I cannot see the new result. That's why we installed the nodman package in the first place. So we'll just go ahead and create a script for this. Let's say development or dev. We'll say nodman and index.js file, but this is under the backend. So let's just prefix it with it. And let's say our main file is the backend. Oops, I just got, you know, some kind of warning because my laptop is charging. So let's say backend index.js. This is the main file that we just have. If we save, now we can kill our terminal and run this file with npm run dev, which is going to run it with nodman. And whenever you do some change, it is going to restart it. So let's see what I mean. If we refresh, we just got this value. And if I delete this, and if I save, this is going to be updated as well. Okay, I hope this makes sense. That was the setup that we just have. Now let's try to maybe just create a database and connect to it, right? So I will go into the MongoDB, let's say mongodb.com. And if you don't have an account, go ahead and create one. It is completely free to get started with it. So let me just try to sign in with my Google account. So it already, I think, tries to sign me in, and we need to create a project. So let's click to this drop down and just say new project. Okay, so I'll just give it a name. Let's say auth tutorial, and just say next. Project owner is gonna be me. Let's say create a project, and then it's gonna take us to this page. Let's say create a cluster, And then we can select the free tier, which is really generous, that is completely enough for us, and we can just leave everything as it is. You can update the region, the one that is closest to you or your users. It is not really important. Let's just say create the deployment. And then it's gonna take us to this page. Let me just copy my password and just go here, put it for now as a comment, because we'll be cutting this from this file. Let's say create this user, and now we can really get the string to be able to connect to this database. So I'll just copy this. In your case, this might be off. In my case, it is already, turned on, and I can see the password. If you see something like this, then you would copy it and paste it, then change this password field, right? This complete placeholder with the password that you have. So you would delete this and get that and paste it. And instead of having this in the index.js file, we would like to cut it from here and just go and create a file called .env. And I will say mongo URI equal to this value. By using this string, we can really connect to the database that we just created. So let's say close. And just one more thing, in the development, your IP address might change, so you might have trouble to connect to this database. And to fix this, I think we should visit the network access. Okay, so from here, you're gonna see your IP address listed in the first, in the first listing, but you might want to just say add IP address and allow access from anywhere, so that you can really don't have any issues in the development. So this is gonna take a bit time, and once this is ready, we can move on with the video. Okay, so it just took about 20 seconds and now it is active. Let's go into the database. And if we take a look at it, we don't really have any collections, right? We just don't have anything. And the very first collection that we'll be creating is going to be the users collection, right? So let's go ahead and maybe first create a function where we can connect to the database. Then we can really, we can create that user collection. Okay, sorry. Let's go ahead, create a folder called maybe database or db. Let's say connect db.js. And in this file, we'd like to basically create a function that is going to allow us to connect to the database. So let's say export const, I'll just say connect db. This is going to be an async function, and let's import mongoose at the top. Okay, by using mongoose package, we can connect to our database. Let's have a try and catch, let's say, and we'd like to just say await mongoose.connect, and we would like to pass the mongo URI that we have as the connection string. And this is going to give us a connection. So let's just get that so that we can really see something in the terminal. So I'll just say console.log mongodb connected. And in the catch case, we could say console log error connecting to MongoDB, or connection to MongoDB, by showing the error message. And we can really just exit this process with the status code of 1, which means a failure, right? So if the code was 0, then that would mean it was success, right? Status code is success, but 1 is, let's say, failure. 1 is failure, right? I'll just leave this as a comment. Now let's go into the index.js. Once we start to listening this port or this app, we can really just say connect db and call this function. Now, since you're importing a local file, you need to make sure that you put the .js at the end, because we're using type of module, right? Okay, so this is something that you need to keep in mind whenever you import a local file in this backend folder. It should always be extension at the end, otherwise it's going to crash. Now, if we just try to see this, it is going to crash. Let's see why. It is because here it says the URI parameter is not actually provided. So you might be asking, hey man, I just provided this. Let's just see. I'll say console log let's say mongo URI, and just see this in the terminal. We're gonna get undefined. The reason is that by default you cannot access to this environment variables. That's why we imported this package .env in the first place. Let's say .env, and we need to call this function called config. If you save, now you can really see that value because you can read it, and with the help of this, now it is able to connect to that database, right? Okay, so here it just says MongoDB connected. This is going to be the database setup that we just handled. I think the next step would be create the authentication routes. So let's just handle that as well. Instead of just a hello page, let's create a route. So I'll just say app.use and let's say /API/auth, and in this case we'll like to just see the auth routes, which is going to be a file that we'll create. So let's go under the backend, first create a routes folders, and here I'll just say auth.js. You can just leave it like this. The convention that I am using is this auth route.js, and it is really convenient for me just from here understand this is a route file. But as I said, this is a regular file, regular JavaScript file. If you delete this part, this should be working exactly the same. Okay, so this is just my preference, just to keep that in mind. And from that file, we'll like to maybe import Express. Okay, and then I'll just say const router and express.router. So we'll just say export default is router so that we can really import it from other files. So let's just say import auth routes from this location. There we go. And now from in this route, we can really put all of our routes, and I'll just explain what this means. Let's say router.get to, let's say, /signup. In this case, we would like to run this function. This is going to just say sign up route. Let me go ahead and duplicate this one twice. Let's say login, and we'll just have the logout. And let's say this is the logout route, and this is the login route. Okay, so what we have done is that just prefix all these routes with API/auth. Let's just try to see all of them in action. If we visit API/auth/signup, we're gonna get this response, and for the login this, and for the logout this one. Let's see, I'll go here, let's say API auth and signup. Okay, here it says signup route for the login and for the logout, and we'll like to create functions for each of these controllers. So I'll just go under the backend and just say controllers folder, and I'll just say auth.js. This is how we can put it if you really want to, but I would suggest you to put this because why not? This looks really cool, right? Auth controller.js. And this is also a convention that people use, and I really like this. So here, what we'll be doing, instead of putting the function here, by the way, this could be also an async function. This is just a normal function that you would have. What I'll be doing is just delete it from here and create a separate function specifically on this file. Let's say export const signup. This is gonna take the request and response, and let's just make this to be async because we'll be using await later in the video, and we can just say response.send signup route. So let's duplicate this twice, which is gonna be first for the login and for the logout. I'll say login, and let's go here, let's say this is the logout. There we go. Now we can just go here and import the signup function from the auth controller.js file. Make sure you put the extension. Let's delete this, just say login and logout. Okay, so this is the route setup that we just created for the authentication. And I think next thing could be where we'd like to just build the user collection, right? For this, we can really create a folder called models, and the first model we'll just have is going to be user. So let's say user.model.js, and so like another convention is that you just put it capitalized, such as user.js, and this is how people also been using. But again, this is what I'd like to use, user model.js. Even though logo is a little bit different, this is just a regular JavaScript file. I just got this icon because I am using this extension called grade VS Code extensions, or I'm sorry, VS Code grade icons. I am using this one, that's why I see all these folders and icons. Okay, just to keep that in mind. And now we can just create this user model by using Mongoose. Okay, so import Mongoose from Mongoose. The very first thing you would like to do is just create a user schema. So let's say new Mongoose schema, and this takes an object and a second object. This is optional, and let's just put it right now where we'll just say timestamps is going to be equal to true. By using this gives you the created at and updated at fields. So let's say created at and updated at fields will be automatically added into the document, and this will be added because we just added this timestamps, and once we use it, I think we'll just see that in action. Now each user will have an email, right? So I'll just say email, and this is going to be type of string, and let's say this is going to be required, as well as this is going to be unique. Oops, let's say unique. And each user will also have a password. Let's say this is going to be type of string and required. Okay, and then after the password, each user will have a name. So let's say this is also going to be type of string and required. Now, what else they will have is going to be the last login date. So let's say this type is going to be date, and I don't know, like, should this be required? Well, not really. So let's say the default value could be date.now, right? Or you could leave it like null. Doesn't really matter. You can, really just leave it anything. Let's just say date.now because this just makes sense a lot, right? This is the one that makes sense in this case. Then we'll have a field called is verified. This is going to be Boolean so that we can really check if user's account is verified or not. So true or false. By default, this is going to be false. And then we're going to have a couple of different fields. Let me just put them in and just try to explain. Okay, so we'll have reset password token. Since we are just putting only the type, we don't really need to open up an object. Here we have multiple different fields such as default and type, and even like unique, required. So when you have more than once, you can just open up an object, but here we just put the type only. This is fine. Okay, so we're gonna have a reset password token for each user so that when they want to update their password, we can really update this value. And to make this secure, we will expire this maybe, let's say, after 1 hour, right? And we will send them a verification token to be able to verify their accounts, and this is going to also expire, let's say, after 1 day or maybe 6 hours, just to make it a little bit more secure as well, right? So this is the schema that we just have. It is really basic, not really anything complicated, just a couple of fields for each user, and we can just say const user now and mongoose.model create a user model with this schema that we just created. And to be able to use this user model, let's just export it so that we can use it in different files. Okay, we can save this and maybe just start with the authentication process, which is going to be sign up first. And while we're here, let's just update this port to be 5000. And instead of putting it like this, we can create a environment variable for this as well. So I'll just say const port is going to be coming from process.env port, and let's just say if this is undefined, right, for some reason this might be empty, then we'll just fall back this with 5000. Okay, let's just get this, paste it, and instead of this 3000 hard-coded value, we can just really get that from the port variable. And let's create that. I'll just say port 5000. Okay, so we can, I think, save this and just start with the sign up route. And also let's delete this, we don't really need it. That was just for testing purposes. And as we build any of these endpoints, we will be using like a desktop application called Postman. From this, we can really test all of our endpoints. So this is a desktop application that is completely free. I mean, at least it has a free version that we'll be using. This is what I'll be doing later in the video. Okay, so I think we can now just start with the sign up process. So to get started with this function, I'll first delete everything and just say try and catch. In the try, we would like to just get some values from the user. Maybe we can really put it above the try. So user will send us some fields, right? Such as email and password and name. And we can extract all of them from the request.body. And to be able to make this work, you need to add a middleware from this file to this file called app.useExpressJSON. So this will allows us to parse, let's say, incoming request with JSON payloads, or let's just say from the incoming requests, which is going to be under the request.body. Okay, so this is really what that does, and the data should be in the format of JSON. Okay, if you save this now, we can really grab these data from the client or from the user. Then in the try, we would like to just check for some validations. Let's just say if email is not provided, or if password is not provided, or name, right? In this case, we can just really throw a new error, which will be handling it in the catch. Let's say all fields are required. Okay, then we'll just go below and just check for the user if it already exists or not. I'll say user already exists, and we'll just check it with the email. So let's say await user, and let's maybe shrink this and just make sure you imported the user model from the user model.js and put the extension at the end. So we'll say user.find1 with the email that is matching with the one that user just sent it, right? So this is gonna find that email or that user. If it exists, we can throw an error, right? So you can throw it or return a response from here as well. So let me just show you both of the alternatives. So let's say res.status 400 JSON. You can say message user already exists, and you can even put some success field. Let's just say success is gonna be false. Okay, so you can do the same thing for this one, or you can really catch it in the catch block. So here you would say something like res.status of 400 and just send the message that is coming from the error, right? And now that we just check for the user, we can hash the password. So I'll just say hashed password, and we'll be using bcrypt package for this. So I'll just say import bcrypt from bcrypt.js. That was the package that we installed. You can call this as bcrypt.js, but I just want to call it as bcrypt, and or let's just be consistent. I'll just say bcrypt.js and call the hash function. I'll just say hash the password with a salt. So you can really just put a number. So let's just say 10, and this should be fine. So let's say user passed something like 1 2 3 4 5 6. We're going to hash this to be not readable. Okay, so that would be maybe looking something like this, where user has no idea that is readable. So we'll just see this in action in a little bit, and we'll like to do this so that we just follow the best practices, because you don't really want to save the password as it is. And this has a couple of reasons. The most important one is being that if your database is stolen, they shouldn't be see the password of all the users. And I think we'll just see this in action. Let's say after we created the hashed password, we can create a user, right? I'll just say const user, and we'll say new user, where we can put an object. So let's just say email. This is the email that user passed. Then for the password, this is going to be equal to the hash password, right? And the name, let's say we also want to just create a verification code, and I think we forgot to do this. Let's go here and just say const verification, instead of token, let's just say code, doesn't really matter. Let's say generate verification code. This is going to be a function that we'll like to create, and we can create it in this file, or maybe just be a little bit more organized and create a utils folder, and inside that we can just say generate verification code. Oops, I just did a mistake. Let me just copy this name and replace it with that. Let's say .js at the end. This is the file that we just created, and this is going to be really simple function. Let's say export const generate verification code, and we'll be using this line. Let me just copy and paste it. Okay, so just one line of function. We can even make this to be one-liner by deleting this return and the curly braces. Okay, if you really want to, you can take this and probably put it here, but I'll just leave it like this. Okay, this is gonna create a verification code. Let's import this function from this file and make sure you have .js at the end. Then we'll be saving this verification code to the database. I'll just say verification token. This is how we called it. Let me just check it. So we just said verification token. So I think we can just be consistent, call this as verification token as well. Sorry about this. I thought we called it as code, but let's say verification token. And you know what? I'll just delete this file and just have this in the first place. Okay, let's just delete this. We'll be using this utils folder later in the video. And I can just put it like this. This is gonna give us a verification token randomly. And here we'll just say verification token. It is going to be equal to this that we just created, and we can create an expires at date. Let's say verification token expires at, and this could be in 24 hours. So I'll just say date at now. From here and out, we can say 24 and just 60 times 1000. This is going to be equal to 24 hours. There we go. Then once we created this user, we need to save it to the database. Let's say await user.save. And now that we just have the user, we need to create a token and set a cookie that is just going to say this user is just being authenticated, right? So we hash the password, created a token, save the user to the database. It is time to really just authenticate them in the client by creating a token. And after creating this token, we will send a verification email with this token so that they can verify their accounts. So I know this sounds complicated, but it is not really. Let's create a token. For this is going to be our function. Let's say generate token and set cookie. Okay, this is going to take the response as well as the user ID. So this is going to be the ID that we just passed. MongoDB saves IDs just like this, underscore ID. And also let's make sure we delete this because we don't have this import. And let's say under the utils, we can just say generate, how did we call it? Token and set cookie.js. So in this function, we would like to basically create a JSON web token. And let's create a secret first because we need it. Let's say JWT underscore secret, and you would like to put some hard to decode value here. I'll just say my secret key, and you can really make this to be a little bit more secure in the production. Okay, let's save and just go into this file. Let's say import JWT from JSON web token package that we installed, and we can say export const generate token and set cookie. So that was taking the response and user ID, if you remember from this line, right? Response and user ID. And we would like to create a token. So let's go inside and I'll just say const token, and let's just type this out and then we can try to explain how this works. Let's say JWT sign, and the first argument it wants you to put is the payload, and let's put the user ID that we are getting as an argument. Then second one is going to be the secret. So let's say process.env jwt secret, and then the options. Let's say this expires in, let's say, 7 days. Okay, this token will be invalid after 7 days. And like this is how that works. This is going to return you a token where you call the sign method, and you are passing a payload that is user ID, and we're using this user ID so that when we decode the token, we know which user has this token, right? With the help of this user ID, we can fetch the user profile from the database. So this is gonna make sense a lot once we use this later in the video. We just created the token, and let's set it into the cookies. So I'll just say res.cookie, which is gonna ask us a couple of different arguments. So the first one is gonna be the name. You can just call it anything, token, JWT, auth, token, really anything. I'll just go with token, and I'll put the token as the value. Then a couple of different options to just make this a little bit more secure. So first, I'll just say this is going to be HTTP only true. This means this cannot be accessible via JavaScript, so only HTTP really. And this prevents an attack called XSS. Okay, so XSS attacks. If you really want to take a look at it, you can research and just have a little bit more info about this. I am not an expert on that issue, so I'm not going to pretend as if I really know that, right? So you can take a look at that. Then we can say the secure field is going to be equal to true only if we are in the production. So we can get this node env if it is equal to production, then this would be secure, otherwise not. Because in localhost we have HTTP, and in the production we'll have HTTPS, which this S stands for secure, right? Okay, then let's try to create this node env maybe. I'll press Ctrl E and open up the .env file. Just go here, say node env. It is equal to development because we are currently developing this application. In the production, it is going to be equal to the production. Let's say same site is going to be equal to strict. Let's say strict, and this also prevents an attack called CSRF, right? You can take a look at this if you really want to. And finally, a maximum age. So this is going to be in the format of milliseconds. Let's just put it like this, and this is equal to 7 days. If you really want to make this something like 15 days, you would update this part. Okay, so I'll just leave it as 7 days. And finally, I'll just say return the token from this function. Maybe we would be using that later in the video, right? Just from that file, we return the token. Okay, so we created the token and set the cookie. Now we can really, I don't know, let's just send a response with 201, which means something is created. And let's say JSON, we can just go here. You can say success of true and message user created successfully. And then for the user, you can just really return the user as it is. But here we have the password and we don't really want to send this to the client. So what I'll be doing is just get all the fields that user has. So I'll just say spread the user document, but make the password to be undefined or null, right? You can just keep it anything that you want that doesn't have a value. Okay, so let's try to save and open up our Postman application and just try to test this out to see if it is gonna work or not. Okay, so this is the Postman application that I just logged in. These are the different requests and workspaces that I have created for the previous tutorials. Let's just create a new one. I'll say this is gonna be blank. Next, name could be auth tutorial. And you can create it for everyone, which is your team, or you can just create it personally. It is not really that important. And we can create a collection. Let's say auth collection. And let's create a request so that we can really send a post request. And I think we forgot to update that. So let me just go into the VS Code. In the auth route, this is going to be a post request for all of them, because we'll be sending some data with them, right? we used get to be able to test this out in the browser, but that was just for the testing purposes. They should be post. Okay, just keep that in mind. And let's visit this application. Let's make this to be post. We can save. It is going to update this part. Let's say sign up. And from the body, we would like to send some raw JSON data with the fields. We had email, right? And let's put our URL first. Let's say HTTP localhost and our port, which was I think 5000 /API/auth, and sign up. For the email, let's just put something random, or maybe I'll just put my email. Let's say at gmail.com. And if I just send this now, it is going to give us an error that says, please fill in all the fields, because we need to provide the name as well as, let's say, I'll just give my name and the password. If we don't really put the password, it is also going to give us an error because it's going to hit that if check. Say password, and I'll just put, I don't know, let's say 1 2 3 4 5 6. And once I sent this, okay, it says user already exists. How could this be even possible? Let's take a look at the database. Do I have this user in the first place? I don't really think so. We have some issues in our code. So let's take a look at it. In the sign up function, we hit this part. If user already exists, we say user.find1 with the email. And how could this be even possible? Let's just say console log. Okay, user already exists, and we can just console log this value to be able to debug this. Okay, why do I have this? Let me just open up my terminal with Control J. Okay, so here it says logout is undefined. Let's import this as well. Maybe that was the issue in the first place. I don't know. Let's save and just try to test this out. We have one more issue. Here it says 5000 is already in use. Maybe I have my other application is running. Let me just kill that. The demo application that I have in my second screen. Okay, let's try to save this again. Okay, so now it should be working. You shouldn't really have this error if you're not using an application in that port. Okay, let's try to just use this again. Send the request. Okay, it says generate token and set cookie is not defined. Well, obviously we need to import that as well from this file and make sure you have .js at the end. Now we can really go ahead and test this out once again. Okay, user already exists. Let's take a look at the terminal. Okay, probably it just created that once we hit that request, right? It just came up until here, call this function, and then it finds this function is not undefined, then it return us an error, but it saved it into the database. Let's take a look at it. I'll just say refresh. Okay, so under the users, we have a user, and let's just try to maybe delete this and try this all over again because we had some issues. Let me just send this. There we go. User created successfully. This is the user data, and we can really see this is working, and we don't have the password in this user object if you can take a look at it, because we deleted that from the response. And from the cookies, we have a cookie called token, and this is going to expire in 7 days. Okay, so everything seems to be working. It is HTTP only, secure of false, because we are in localhost, which is HTTP and not HTTPS. Okay, so let's take a look at the database. Maybe refresh this page. And we just got the user field, and the password was 123456, but now it is being hashed. If you can take a look at it, this is not readable at all. So you cannot understand this is from 1 to 6 by taking a look at it. And our database name is called as test because we have didn't update it in the .env file. So if you put something for this question mark, let's just say, I don't know, like auth database, then save this. This is going to create that database. But if you don't put anything, it is going to create that test database, which is in our case. So what we can do, just give it a name, save this file, and delete this database, and just say drop. Okay, let's try to create this user again. Hopefully it should create it in that database. Let's just say refresh. It should call as auth underscore db. Okay, it didn't, because we need to kill our terminal and just restart it again whenever you do some change in the .env file. Okay, even if you are using Nodman, when you are updating the .env, you should really restart it all over again. Let's try to send this request. And I think first we need to delete this one. We should have auth.db. Okay, there we go. We have that user. So you can delete this again and just test this out. It is going to work out. And this is the user that we have. Okay, that was a little bit of debugging and just explaining one more concept from this .env connection string. But I think at this point we are good to go. And we take a look at the database. We can see the last login was just today, right? This is the date that I just logged in. And then we have verification token expires date, which is about 24 hours. This is how we set that up. And we sent a verification token, which is about 6 digit. And user will get this as an email, and they will be able to verify their account. And to be able to send an email, we'll be using Mailtrap, which is going to be the email delivery platform that we'll be using. And there will be a link in the description that you can really sign up with that, and I would appreciate it if you go with that link. So this would be in the mailtrap.io. Okay, so I just landed in this mailtrap.io page. This is going to be the platform where we can test, send, and control all of our emails. And it is really free to get started with it. So they have a free generous tier that we can get started with. So we can send 1000 emails per month and 200 emails per day, which is really enough for a project like this. And if you really want to get a little bit more advanced, then you can take a look at the paid plans, which they have really great offers. I think I can show you that this is trusted by the top tier companies, and you'll see why in the first place. Like, it is really convenient and easy to get started with, and really see all the analytics that you have in one place. So I already have an account, but just to show you the process, I'll just try to sign up from scratch. Let's say sign up for free. And before that, I just want to thank to the Mailtrap team for sponsoring this content. Without their service and support, I don't really think it would be possible to come up with this video. And I appreciate if you go with the link in the description. Okay, anyways, let's just say sign up for free, and we're gonna land on this page. You can use your GitHub account or Google account. So let me just select this one and continue, and I should be in. There we go. So we can start with the email testing. Here we have also designed for developers. Let's go with this one. And now you have two different options where you use the demo domain that Mailtrap provides you, or you can set up your own domain. This is what I'll be using. And if you have a domain, you can select this and just really set your domain, which is something that you should do in the production. But let's just go with this. I'll explain the differences just in a second. Okay, so with this demo mailtrap.com domain, you can send emails only to yourself. But if you add your own domain, you can send email to any email address. Okay, so I hope this makes sense. I'll be using this demo in this application, but if you have a domain, you can really go ahead and set that up by following the instructions. It is really easy to get started with it. So let me just go here into the integration. Let's say we would like to send welcome emails or confirmation emails, password resets. These are what we called as, let me just close this. These are what we called as transactional stream emails. And we have also bulk emails where you would send multiple email, one email for multiple recipients at once. So that would be a use case for newsletters, right? Or terms and conditions update or product announcements. So let's go with this one where we would like to send a confirmation email. Let's say integrate, and we'll be able to see the code or the integration code from the API. You can select the Node.js, and also they have a, let's say, Node.js SDK that we can take a look at it from the GitHub. So always you can take a look at the entire documentation. It is like, it has different examples, the source code. The first thing we need to do, just install the package. We can take a look at it from here as well. We'll be using Node.js. If you're using different programming languages, you can take a look at it from here after this video, because obviously we're using Node.js together, right? Let's grab this entire file, and I'll go into the VS Code and create a folder called mail trap. And what I'll be doing is just create a configuration file, and you'll see why later in the video. Let's say mailtrap.config.js. You can just call it as mailtrap.js or really anything.js, but I'll go with this name, and I will just paste this into it. Okay, so we're not using common.js. Let's first say import mailtrap client from mailtrap, and just delete this, and we'll be using .env variables. Let's say import .env, and you would like to just say call the config function, and like instead of putting my token here, I will actually create an environment variable for this. Let me just cut this value, delete this codes, go into the .env file with Control E, and then just say, I don't know, let's say mail trap underscore token, and we'll have one more for the end point. Okay, let's say equal to, this is going to be the token, and let's put the endpoint. Okay, I'll just leave it like this. Then we can say process.env, and let's just grab this endpoint, and we should have a dot here, right? And let's say process.env mail trap token. Just make sure this name is matching with this one. So after the token, we can really create a client. They have already done this for us, and there is going to be a sender, right? So you can have the email. This is the demo domain. You can only send email to yourself, which is going to be this account that you signed up. And if you're using your own domain, then you can send to any recipient. And this is the format. It should be an array of objects with the email or with the emails, right? And for the name, you can just say anything. I'll just put my name. Let's just say, I don't know, like just give my name. And for the client, this is how we do it. Let me just save and just try to run this file. I'll go here, open up a new terminal. And here I'll just say, okay, let me just create a new one so that you can see the entire line. I'll say node, go into the backend and go into the mail trap folder and mailtrap config.js. This is how we can run this file for testing purposes. Okay, here it says success true and message ID. This should send me a message with this subject that says congrats for sending test email with mailtrap. Let me just go ahead and check that out from my inbox. And there we go. Here it just says you're awesome. This is the sender with the demo mailtrap domain and the email content. So by using this, now we can send really anything. And instead of text, later in the video, we'll be using HTML so that we can really send a really cool formatted text, right? Instead of text, we'll send HTML that says welcome to our platform or verify your account, things like that. Okay, so this is how you would use it in simple terms, and just look at this. It is about 30 lines of code, and most of them are just empty spaces, and we can really use, just send emails in seconds. and we can really shorten this. Let's cut this token, put it here, and get the endpoint. We can delete these. For the sender, you can delete the name, but I'll just keep it because why not? And for the recipients, this is the recipient for now. I think we're not gonna need it in this file. Let's delete this because we'll be making this to be dynamic, right? The recipient will be the user that just signed up. We can delete this from here, and we're not gonna have this function. This is the config file, remember, right? We'll just say export const sender, and we can, let's say, export const client, and we should be able to use them later in the video. So let's say instead of client, let's just make this to be a little bit more readable. Mail trap client it is going to be. Okay, so I think we can save this file and just go into the auth controller, and let's close this one as well. After we save the user and after we generate the token, we can just say send verification email, right? And we'll just pass, let's say, the user email as well as the verification token or verification code that we just created. But we don't have this function in the first place. So let's go ahead and create that as well. Under the mail trap, I will just have a file called emails.js, and we will have all of our emails. And one more file I will create. This is going to be our templates. So I'll say email templates.js, and like you can find this code from the GitHub. This is what I'll be doing. From this, under this file, go ahead and grab them and just paste it. So it is 100 lines of code, and I'll explain each of them. This is for the reset password email, for the success, and for the verification email template. Okay, so just save this and you'll see what this does. I'll explain, I promise. And under the emails file, we'll like to just create one email where we can send this verification email. Okay, so this is what I'll be doing. Just go into this file, let's say export const send verification email function. It's going to be an async function that is going to take the user email as well as the verification token. Okay, so let's say under here, we will first have the recipient. So I'll say recipient. This should be in this format, array of user objects with the email. So this is what we just got as an argument. Let's say try and catch. In the try, we'll say const response. Let's say await mail trap client. Make sure you put .js at the end, and we'll just say send. Call the function, then from which user it is going to be sender that we created, right? This is going to be your account that you should put into the sender, right? If you're using demo email just like me, then it is going to be this. But if you have your own domain, you can put that here really and with your name. So this is why we're using this config file in the first place, because we'll be using these in different places. And it is really nice to just have one configuration file and just grab those values from. And to this recipient, this email, and subject, we can just add it. And this subject will be shown as here, right? I think in the previous one, we just said that you're awesome. But now we can just say verify your email. And for the HTML, we could say like you can open up the backticks and put your HTML content, but that's why we created this template, verification email template. Let's put it, import it, and like in this template, you can see there are lots of different styles. And if you take a look at it a little bit more in detail, you can see there is a placeholder for the verification code, and we're going to really take this and replace it with the actual verification token. So I will say replace the verification token. This is the placeholder that we just put with the token that we just got from the database. And we can give a category as well. So this would be kind of like a helper option that we add. Let's say category is going to be email verification. And by adding this, you can have a bit more better analytics so that you can really see in the category of email verification, all mails are opened by the clients, or the click rate, things like that. We'll just see them later in the video. Let's say email sent successfully. We can just see this in the terminal, and here we can just say throw new error sending verification email, and we can just see this in the console as well. Let's say console.log or console.error, show the error as well. Okay, so this is a little bit annoying. Let's delete the email and just see the error just like this. Okay, it should be fine. So this is going to be the function where we'll just call, let's say, await, and this will do the magic, send an email with the verification token. So this is just some HTML and CSS. You're going to see the output just in a second, but this is really how that works if you want to send an email in the HTML format. It is really kind of like a pain, but this is the only way I think we can use the mails. And let's try to save this file. I don't really think if we need to do anything else. I'll just go ahead, delete this user from the database first, and just try to sign up again. Okay, so I'll just put my name, but it is not going to be this one. Let's say this is the account, because I can send only email to this one, because I am using the demo email, right? As I said, once again, if you add your own domain, you can send email to anyone. Okay, this is the email. Let me just send it. Send verification email is not defined. Yep, as always, we need to just get that. I did that mistake. Let's import, save, and send it once again. But I think before we send it, did we created that user? Okay, so it created. Let me just go ahead and delete this, and just try to send it once again. Okay, let's just send it. Probably like, let's take a look at the terminal. Do we have any errors? Okay, so here it says cannot find module of email templates. So maybe from here, this should get the .js at the end. Sorry about this. We just got a lot of errors, but this is really how real world programming works, right? You just got a lot of errors until you make that work. Let's just refresh. Do we have the user? Okay, so we don't. Let's go ahead and send this once again. This should create the user. Let's take a look at it from here. User created. Let's refresh this one. We should be able to see the user with the email, with the verification code that is equal to 802727. Let's take a look at our inbox. We just got the new email from this user with this subject, and this is the template with the code, right? 802727, and this is the markup that we just provide in this file, email template.js. Okay, so this is really what makes it to be look like this, and we replace this verification code template with the code that we just got as an argument. So with this, I hope this makes sense at this point. This is how we can send emails in seconds. We just called the function. Let's take a look at it. We have the recipient and just one call with our client. And in the client, we have a little bit of configuration, just 3 or 4 lines of code with the sender details. Then here we just put the HTML content with the related arguments, category, subject, from, to, and it just works magically. Okay, this is gonna be it for the sign up process. I think next we can build the verify your email. So when the user puts this verification code, their account will be verified, because currently is verified is false. And this is gonna be next. So I'll see you in the next section. Okay, so welcome back. In the previous section, we have built the sign up endpoint where we can save the user to the database, create a verification token, and send it as an email. Now it is time to get that verification code and verify the account. So we're going to go ahead and create an endpoint for this. So I will say router.post, and this is going to be /verify dash email, and we're going to call this controller function. Let's say verify email. Now we can copy this name and maybe just import it from here, and let's go into that file. We can shrink this, and maybe before the login we could say export const verify email. This is going to be the async function, right? And we're gonna go ahead and put the logic for this. So first of all, we need to get the code that user will pass, because now just imagine there will be a UI that user can put 6-digit value, right? Let's say user will see something like this and they can go ahead put the verification code. So let's say it is from 1 to 6. Once they put this and press enter or just submit that, we're gonna get this code in the backend. So I'll just say request.body. This is gonna be our verification code or token. We can just get into the try and catch. In the try, we will just say, first, let's try to find this user. I'll say await and user.find one. Now, what we'll be doing is to really find this not only with the verification token, but also with the expires at. So let's say if it is greater than date.now, and that means this is still valid, right? So we are adding this second line just to make sure that token is not expired. So we'll say if there is not user found, or if it is falsy value, we'll just say return res.status of 400, and let me just shrink the sidebar, success or false, and message invalid or expired verification code. Then below we can just go ahead and just say user is verified to be true, right? Then we will say, now after we verified the account, I think we can just go ahead into the database and delete this verification token and this expires date, because there is no point keeping them. We'll just go ahead and just say user dot verification token is going to be undefined, as well as the expires at date is going to be undefined. After we update these values, let's just save the user to the database. This is actually going to update these values, right? Then we can send a welcome email. So let's say await send welcome email. We'll just pass the user email as well as the username so that we can get this in the email template, which is going to be this one. So we will have our, let's say, company name. I'll just call it as auth company. Really so creative, right? You can put anything. Then we're gonna put some kind of image and then the username as well as the email address, so that we know this mail is gonna go to that user, right? That's why we pass the user email as well as the username so that we can use the name in the template. And at the very bottom, we will have unsubscribe button where they can unsubscribe from all the emails that we just sent, right? Okay, so let's try to create this function. As you might know, in this case, we'll go into the mail trap, emails, create this function, send welcome email. This is going to be taking the email as well as, let's say, the user name, or just let's say name, and we have a template for this as well. If you shrink this one, okay, my bad, we don't actually have a template for the welcome email. Instead of creating it here, I'll just show you how we can create it in the mail trap dashboard. So we're gonna build this in seconds and you're gonna not believe it. Let's take a look at the templates place, right? This template field or the section, let's say create new template, and they have free templates. Let's just give it a name. These are the silly suggestions that I just got. Let's delete them. Template name, let's say welcome email. Subject could be welcome to, and you would put your name, right? I'll just say welcome to Auth company. Okay, and for the category, this is really useful to be able to track stats, and we're going to take a look at it later in the video. Let's just say welcome, and that should be fine. Let's say continue, but first we need to select the domain, which is this one. Let's say continue. Now we can really start from scratch or have a welcome email template. Let's apply this one. And let's see. Okay, so if you take a look at it, this is really similar to the one that I have created previously. This is going to be your company name and the username that you're going to send. This is going to be coming as an argument, and you can really put different things here. And at the bottom, you will have the company name, address. Let's just delete for these for now. Okay, I'll just delete this, and unsubscribe button should be enough. But how do we create an image for this? Let's click it, and they have AI generated field. Let's just click it, and we can really put anything. I'll just be using this prompt and the style, let's say realistic. So this is going to take a bit time to generate. Once it is done, it should be good to go. So these are the results that we just got. This is what I had previously, and I think this is what I'll be using. Let's say use image, and it should put it into that placeholder. So we just got that, and how cool is this, right? So we can really put different things here. I think we can put an image into here. Let's go ahead and do it. So for the first one, I'll just go ahead, drag and drop an image, only one, not two. Let me just get this, put it, and it should upload it. For the name, I'll just say, let's say chat app tutorial, and we can make this to be a link. So you can really do it and put your links here for now. Let me just do it actually pretty quickly. Okay, so I just put the titles with the links and with the images. Now we can really make this go a bit more larger, just like this. And let's add it to this one as well. Okay, this is how we can really customize this, and you can really add anything that you can imagine, and maybe you would just play around with it. This is how it's gonna look like in the desktop and in the mobile. Okay, so I think this looks fine to me, right? I will finish this, or before that you can send a test email. So let's just send it and just see how this is going to look like. Okay, let's go here. We just got this, and here we go. So this is going to be replaced with the actual company name, the username. We got the image, next step, and we have the links, and we can unsubscribe from this email as well. So I think this works really nice at this point. And let's say finish. This should give us a ID so that we can really use it under the integrations. Let's see if we, so how do we get the UID? Let me just take a look at it. So if you just click to the templates, you're going to get to this templates page. This is the template that we just created. Click to this one and let's say integrate, and you can see the integration guide. Okay, so this is how we can use it. Basically, we have a template UID, and this is the, once you use this ID, it is going to send this template, and you can put the company info name and then the name placeholder, because these are the things that we are using, the name placeholder as well as the company info, right? Okay, so this is basically what we'll be using. Let's go into that function, and from here we will basically build it. So I will say, first of all, the recipient is going to be this username or this email, just like this. This should be the format that we would have. Let me just only get this one. It should be an array of emails, right? Let's say try catch. In the try, we would like to, let's say, await mail trap client dot send, and get this part from the sender that we just imported previously to this recipient, and template underscore UUID. this is going to be this ID. Let's go ahead and get that. Okay, we can put it just like this. Then let's say template variables. And for the company, let me just actually type this out, or maybe just get it from here. Company info name and then the name. For the name, we're gonna give the name of the user that we just got as an argument. And for the company info name, I'll just put auth company. You can change this with anything. And let's say this is gonna be equal to response. Let's say response and console log this. Email sent successfully, response, and we can just say welcome email. Let's say welcome email sent successfully, and in the catch we would just throw that. Okay, so we can go ahead, import this one, and maybe just try to verify our account. So that was the email we got for the verification. I will copy this and try to verify my email. Let's say duplicate. This is our endpoint. Let's say verify email or account. Then our endpoint was API auth verify dash email. Okay, in the body, we'll go raw JSON, and let's say we would like to pass the code, which is this one, right? Let's try to send this. We are not getting any response. Probably we forgot to return something back. In this function, we'll just say after we sent the welcome email, we would say res.json, let's say 200, and maybe this should be status JSON success message, as well as we can really send the user document. Let's say user document, and password is going to be equal to undefined. So if you don't send a response, this is how it's going to look like, because you are not sending any response back. Okay, so if we try to just test this out all over again, and by the way, let's take a look at the database. Is it being verified? Because we didn't send a response, it should verify it, right? Okay, sorry about this. Let's just try to do this all over again from scratch. I'll try to sign up with this account so that we can really see the entire process. Okay, user created. Let's refresh. We should be able to get an email that contains this code. Okay, let's go here. Just get this one. Okay, I'll copy this, and we have a welcome email from the previous, but I'll just delete this and just try to verify my email with this code. This is the latest code that we just got. Let's say send email verified successfully. There we go. We just got the new email with the auth company name and username. These are the things that we just added to our template. And let's take a look at the database. This account should be verified. Okay, and the other fields are just being undefined, such as verification code, and verification code expires at fields. And I think with this, now we can really sign up, verify our email, and just get that welcome email in the first place. And in the catch, let's just handle this as well. I'll just say, you know, like 500 message server error, and we can just say success of false. And for the debugging purposes, we could say console log error in, how did we call this function? Let's say verify email. Okay, so this is gonna be it for this endpoint as well. Let's quickly reiterate what we have done. So under the index.js, we have our authentication routes where we implemented the signup. We got the verification mail, and now we would like to use that token and verify our account. So we got the token, right? We send it to the backend, and we just check if this uh, token is expired or not. And after this, we just say, okay, account is verified, and let's delete these from the account document, save this user to the database, and just send the welcome email. And with that, everything is just working out. We can also take a look at the analytics. Let's just go into here, and by default, you're in the stats, and all of the emails are just delivered. For now, we have sent 9 emails, and unique open rate, click rate. So for now, we just have really small amount of emails, right? This is really less. And if you have like bunch of different emails, maybe hundreds of thousands, this stats section would be incredibly helpful, and you can really just add different filters. So you can just see your categories that you have, such as welcome, email verification, and integration test. This is the first email that we sent, if you remember previously in the video. And we have like all of the mailbox providers, such as Google, Outlook, Yahoo, and all the others. And with that, it's gonna be it for this endpoint, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, so after a quick break, let's continue. The very last thing that we have built so far was the sign up as well as the verify email functions, right? We have built our controllers and it just works out without any issues. Let's delete this comment and maybe try to implement the logout function. So let's just go here, and all we have to do is just clear out the cookies so that we know user is unauthenticated. So I'll just say res.clear cookie, and the cookie name that we would like to clear is going to be the token, because this is how we set that up when we created the token, right? This is how we put it into the response, and this is how we're going to delete it from the same name, right? And let's just say res.status of 200, success without any issues. Let's try to maybe test this out, but just know that I deleted every single user in my database, and I'll just go ahead, try to sign up again, just to see if everything is working and just see the entire process. User created, and this is the verification token. This is how we're going to really try to verify our accounts, and we just got the email. It is the exact same code. Let me just try to verify this. I will put this, send it, account is verified. Let's take a look at it from the database as well. So it should say true for the verified field. Okay, if we take a look at the Postman now, we have a cookie for the localhost. So currently it doesn't, but it didn't refresh. So let me just try to Control R, which is going to refresh this window. And there we go, we just have a cookie, and it is called as token. Let's try to log out. I will say duplicate this one, and I'll just call this as logout. This is going to be our endpoint called logout, and for the body, we don't really need to send anything. Let's just say send it. Logged out successfully. Let's take a look at the cookies. Again, this didn't refresh, but if I just refresh my browser with Control R, it should get rid of that. Here it says in the localhost we have 0 cookies. So that means we can unauthenticate, and the logout function is working fine. Next, we can implement the login functionality, right? So this is what we'll be doing. We have handled this one, and this one. Let's go ahead and see the login workflow. Let me just show a diagram pretty quickly. So user will click to the login button, right? Let's see. Once they click to it, there will be a request to this endpoint, and we'll just do some input validation, such as invalid email or wrong password. We'll just say invalid credentials. But if this is not the case, that means user just logged in successfully. So let's create a token for this and set it into the cookie and update the last login date, because we are keep tracking of that, if you remember from the demo application from the beginning of the video, right? Okay, and then we'll just take the user to the homepage or the dashboard, wherever that is. Let's go ahead and implement this workflow basically. So we'll just have a try catch, and let's get the email and password from the request.body. This is what user will provide us. Let's say const user and find it from the database. So user find one with the email. If it is not matching, so that means there is not a user object. So we could just say return res.status 400 invalid credentials with the success false. But if this is not the case, then we can compare the passwords. So let's just say is password valid, and we're going to call the bcrypt with the compare method. We're going to compare the password in the database. Okay, so let me just explain. We're going to compare the password that user just passed to the one that we have in the database, right? This is going to first decode this and just take a look at it if it is matching with this one. And if this is not valid, so we could say if this is not the case, then invalid credentials, but else we can just generate a token and set the cookie. Then finally, we'll just update the login history. So I'll just say user last login was just now. So this is how we called it. Let me just check. Last login. Okay, where that is? Okay, last login, which is a date. Let's say this is gonna be new date, which is just now. And we can save this user to the database and finally send a response back. So we'll just send the user object by removing the password and success message. Okay, let's just try to save it, but I forgot to add the catch. So let's just grab this and console log error in login function. Okay, let's save and duplicate this one. I'll call this as login. Our endpoint is going to be login, let's say, and we'd like to send somebody, which is going to be not code but email. And I'll put this email that we have and for the password. So just to test this out, I'll put a wrong password. Okay, so here it says invalid credentials. If I put a wrong email, it should also say invalid credentials, right? Let's put the correct password, but email is wrong, so still, and let's put everything to be correct. Okay, there we go. We just got the cookie and we are logged in. And that means login function is just completed. The next thing that I would like to add is going to be forgot password. So what is going to happen is that user will click a button that says forgot password. And let me actually show you the workflow. So where that is. Okay, so there we go. And so user will click a button, and I think I just have the images. Okay, so user will just say forgot password. They are going to put their email. And once they click this button, well, there will be a request to our endpoint, and we'll just say if an account exists for this email, you will receive a password reset link shortly. And user will get the email that says password reset, some message, and once they click to this button, we are going to take them to our front-end application. So if you take a look at it closely to the URL, we have a token from here, right? And this token will allow us to securely reset the password. And now user can put their passwords and click to this button, which is going to send another request, right? And once they update their password, we will just send a different email that says password reset was successful, right? And this is the entire workflow basically. First, we'll build this function where we send an email that says reset your password. And for this, we need to create a token. Okay, I know this sounds absolutely crazy, but it is actually easier than you think. The first thing we need to do is just create a route where we can forgot our password, right? So I'll just say forgot password and a function for this, let's say forgot password. And this is going to be coming from this file. Let's save this one and just go into the auth controller, maybe shrink this login function. We don't really need it at this point. and we can create that forgot password, and we don't really need this one as well. Let's shrink that and say export const forgot password async function, and we can just really start by putting our try catch. Before the try, we can extract the email because this is what user will provide us, remember, right? And we can just check for this user. Let's say await user dot find one. And if you really want to take this as a challenge, you can pause the video and try to do it. And I already have a template for this as well. So under the email templates, you can see password reset request template. You can use this and somehow create a function here that says send reset password email. This is a hard challenge. If you cannot do it, don't worry, then you can just watch my solution. Okay, so we'll just go here and we'll say if user is not found. We can just say user not found, or email doesn't exist, things like that. But if we find the user, that means this user is in our database. Well, obviously. Now let's just say generate reset token. Okay, I'll just go here and we'll be using, let me just first create this variable. We'll be using the crypto package. Let's go ahead and import it. Maybe I can shrink this part. Let's say import crypto from crypto, and we can just organize this a little bit. So we have our package imports at the top, our local imports at the bottom. Okay, so we'll just go here and just say crypto dot random bytes. We can put any value. Let's just go with 20, and we'll say 2 hex string. Okay, and this is going to be our token. Now let's create a token expiry date as well. Let's say reset token expires at, let's say from here on out, it's going to be 1 hour. So I'll just say, instead of this, I'll make this to be just 1 hour so that it is a little bit more safe. Okay, as the comment, let's just say 1 hour. There we go. Now that we have created them, we can save this to the database so that we can actually use it. Let's say user reset password. How did we call it? Okay, so this is what we have, reset password token, and it's going to be equal to this one, as well as the, let me just check, user dot reset token expires at, I don't really remember, let's take a look at it. Reset password expires at. Okay, so we're gonna put this, and this is going to be equal to the variable that we just created, and let's update the database. And once we have done this, we would like to send a email, right? Let's say send email. We'll say await send password reset email, and we're gonna put the user email as well as a reset URL, because let's take a look at it. If you remember, once user clicked this button, we will take them to a URL, right? It is reset password page with the token in the URL. So instead of putting the token, I'll just say this is going to be our reset URL. So this is going to be something like http localhost, let's say 5173. This is going to be our React application, and we'll say reset password and then the reset token. This is the exact same format that we just have in the demo application. Okay, so it is not really good practice to have your client URL just like this. So let's create an environment variable for that. I'll just say client URL, and this is going to be equal to 5173. In the deployed application, we can just update this really. Okay, let's save, and we'll go here, just say this is going to be dynamic value process.env, and let me just copy and paste this. Okay, so this is going to be the reset URL that we'll pass into this function, and let's go ahead and create that function now. Under the emails, I will just say export const send the is this how we called it? Send password reset email. Okay, so let's just make sure it is exactly the same, and this is going to be an async function that is going to take the email as well as the reset URL, let's say, because this is what we are sending. And let's get the recipient as always, So let's say recipient and pass the email, then have a try catch. In the try, we'll have a response. Okay, sorry, I cannot type. And we'll just say await mail trap client dot send, and let's open up this object from the sender to the recipient, and subject is going to be reset your password. And for the HTML, as I said, we already have a template called password reset request template, and we will replace the reset URL with the URL that we have. So let's take a look at this. What I mean by this, we have, let's see where that is. Under this href, we have the reset URL. Once you click that, this is going to take us to the front-end application. So we just update this string with the actual value. And finally, we can add the category for analytics. Let's just say password reset. And in the catch, I'll just say throw a new error and console log it. Okay, hopefully this should be working out. Let's go ahead here and import this. Under the catch, we will just handle this. Maybe before that, let's send a response back. Password reset link sent to your email, and console.log, as well as some success false. Okay, hopefully this should be working out. I don't really have any email that says reset your password. I just got the welcome email a couple of minutes ago, but now we can just try to test this out. I will duplicate this dude, and let's say forgot password request, and this is going to be our endpoint, forgot password. And what we need to send is going to be the email. So let's say I forgot my password for this user. Let's save this one and send it. Okay, here it says password reset link sent to your email, and indeed we just got that. Let's click to it, and if I click to this now, it should take me to the localhost. Okay, let's just wait. 51 reset password, and we have the token. But since we don't have the React application, we cannot really see this page. This will be later in the video. Okay, so now that we know the email is being sent, we can actually update this from this page, right? Let's build the endpoint for this one as well, but we will implement this, as I said, later in the video once we have the React application. So we can really just create a different route that says reset password, and we will just put a token. Okay, I'll just duplicate this, maybe give a little bit of space. I'll say reset password, and we would be calling this endpoint when we click to this button. Let me just show this. So far we have, so let me just go up here. So far we have done this part, right? We sent the email, and now later we will be building this section. Once we click to it, we will just send a request to our endpoint. It is going to update the password in the database, right? In the DB, specifically MongoDB, and then send a successful email. Okay, so let's build the endpoint. Reset password, and we will have a token. And since this could be dynamic, we just put colon before to it, right? We'll just prefix it. So I'll say reset password. This is going to be the controller function that will just import from this file. Let's save and just go into the auth controller and build that function. Let's shrink this one. Let's say export const reset password async, and we will have try and catch. Say try catch. Okay, so in the try we will get the token, right? I will first say const token, just grab this from the params, and we call this as token because this is what we said. If this was x, then you would say give me x. I hope this makes sense, but we call it as a token. Then we will also get the password. So I'll just say password request.body. And what we want to do is first find the user. So I'll just say const user await user find one with the reset password token. And I think I forgot to show you that in the database, we also get that fields. Let's refresh. So we have the reset password expires at, and then we have this token. It is being set in the database. And when we want to update the password, we'll be using this token. So really, I can feel like this might be a little bit complicated at this point, but it is just because we haven't built the UI so far. Once we build it and just call these functions, you're gonna see it actually will make 100% sense, and I'll just try to explain it once again. For now, you can, I would say, follow along if this doesn't make too much sense, but if it makes, well, then just great news. Okay, so we'll just say reset password token is equal to this one, and expires at field is greater than data now, so that we know this token hasn't expired. And let's close this off. We will say if this returns a falsy value, we'll just say invalid or expired reset token. But else we can really update the password. So I'll just say update password. Let's say first we need to hash the password. Okay, I'll just hash this as easy as this. This is what we have done previously. Let's say user.password is going to be equal to the hashed password. And since we just updated the password, we can delete these fields just like we have done previously. We'll just set them to be undefined, and we can just save this user to the database. Okay, finally, we will send a reset success email, and we only need to pass the user email. Let's await this and just say resda status of 200, password reset successful. Let's handle the catch case and create this function. Okay, I'll save this and create this function. Let's say const, that was the function name, async. This is going to take the user email, and we can really put the logic. So here, as always, we're going to get the recipient. Just like this, this should be the format that Mailtrap wants us to pass. In the try, we will have a response where we call the Mailtrap client. Let me kill the sidebar and just say send from the sender to recipient. Subject is going to be password reset successful. Now we don't really have a template UID, but instead we have HTML. This is going to be password reset success template, and we don't really need to do any replacement because this is just going to be some static email. We don't really have any variables at all. It just says, hello, we are writing to confirm that your password has been successfully reset and blah blah, right? And okay, this is what we need. Let's add the category for the analytics so that we can really see the insights. Okay, password reset, let's say console.log if you really want to, and then catch with throwing the error. Okay, so this should be working out. Let's try to call this endpoint so that we can really try to update our email, or I'm sorry, update our password. So that was, let me take a look at the so the email. When we click to this, as I said, it is going to take us to this page where we have the token. I will copy this and put it into my new request. Let's say duplicate. For the name, what should we call it? Let's say update password. And our endpoint was, I don't know, let's take a look at it. I already forgot it. Reset password. Reset password. And we need to put the token, right? Okay, so this is going to be the token. If we go into the body, we need to send the new password. And for the new password, I'll just say 12345. Previously it was 6, right? So it was like this. Now I'll just make it to be from 1 to 5. And if I put something wrong here, let's just say I put 5 at the end, it should give me an error that says invalid or expired reset token. So that means this route is also like secure. Let's delete the 5 and make it to be correct one. Send it, reset. I'm sorry, like email is not defined. Let's take a look at it. I forgot to import it as always. Oops, I'll just try to import this. But since our code broke here, so up until here, it should be working, right? Probably it updated the password in the database. If we take a look at it, so everything just worked out, but we only didn't got the email because it was my bad that I forgot to import this function. Okay, let's just try to test this out one more time so that you just really see this is actually working. Let's say I forgot my password. I should get an email. Okay, we just got it just now. And let's say reset password. I will get the new token from here and just try to update my password. Let's say it's going to be just 123. Password reset successful. And we should get a new email that says it was successfully resetted, right? And here we just even put like, this is an automated message. Please do not reply to this email. So I think this template looks really cool and it is matching with the front-end UI that we will have later in the video. Okay, so with this, I think our endpoint is also done for this one, right? We can reset our password. The only thing that we need is going to be checking for the authentication. So I'll just go maybe at the very top and just add a get method. So I'll just say router.get check auth. And this will be called later in the video in the React application. We will call this whenever we refresh our page. So we'll just check if this user is authenticated or not, right? So what we can do to check this out, we can add a middleware called verify token. You can also call this as protect route. It is not really that important. Both of them are valid names. So you could say verify token. And after we pass this, we can just call the check auth function. So let's see what this even means, right? I'll go here under the backend, create a middleware folder and a function called verify token.js. Okay, so here in this function, we'll like to basically check for the token if it is valid or not. I will say import JWT from JSON Web Token and export this function called verify token. So this is going to take the request, response, as well as the next. And you might be asking, what the heck is this next? You'll just see in a second. But basically, once we call the, once we call the next function, it is going to call the next function. So that's all we do. Once we hit this endpoint, first it is going to run this function, and inside this function, if we call the next, it will basically call this one. So we'll just see this in a second. Let's say try and catch. Before the try, we can just try to get the token. Let's say request.cookies.token. And again, we call this as token because this is how we set that up, right? If you call it as JWT, then this should also be JWT. I hope this is 100% clear. And to be able to extract this token from the request.cookies, we need to add this middleware. So I'll just go here, first import this package, import cookie parser from the package. As I said, that this is why we installed it in the first place. I think I have explained this previously in the video, but let me just try to explain once again. By calling this will allows us to parse incoming cookies, right? So this is how we can really extract the token. Okay, so I'll just say if there is not a token, we can just say unauthorized, and we can even put this before the try, and you can just say no token provided, right? Okay, And then we can go into the try and just decode this token. So I'll just say const decode it, and we'll just say jwt.verify this token, and we will put our secret. So we are passing the secret because this is what we used when we created this token as well, right? So we used this one to be able to create the token. So we are using the same secret to be able to decode this. And we will say request.user ID is going to be equal to this decoded.user ID. And we can just say call the next function. And maybe from here, you can just say if there is not decoded. So if this is a falsy value, we can return like invalid token. That means user play around with that token. It is not valid. It should be just coming from the cookies, right? Okay, I hope this makes sense. We are going to add a user ID field to the request, which is going to be this user ID that we have in the token. And then let's just say in the catch, error in verify token with a success message. I mean, false message. Let's try to import this, and we'll go ahead and create this check auth function here. And you'll see what this does just in a second. We will basically go into our controller and just say const check auth. This will take the request and response, and we can just say try and catch. In the try, we will get the user. But how are we going to get that? It is going to be user find by ID, and since we have the user ID in the request, we could just say request.user ID, right? Just like this. And we can just say if user does not exist, we can just say user not found, but else we can just send the user. So you can say just like this, what we have done previously. If you don't want to add this part, there is another option where you would just say select the password and you just put minus. So it is going to unselect it, right? And from here, we can just say JSON success true and send the user. And in the catch, we can just handle this. So I hope this makes sense at this point. Basically, we make this route to be protected. If we have a token, we will call the next function. So this is how that works. If we are able to come up until to this line, that means we can call the next function, which is going to be this one. And in this function, we fetch the user from the database and send it as a response. Let's try to test this out. It was called as check auth. Since I am logged in currently, I'll just try to send it. Let's say get check auth, and let's say check auth. Save this and send the request. We should be able to get the user object. But now if I try to log out, so logged out successfully, and if I try to check if I am authenticated or not, it will say no token provided. This basically says you're not authenticated, and we even got the message. So depending on this, we will we will either show the user the login page or the home page. So this is how we check for the authentication. I hope this makes sense at this point. And so I think these are going to be all the routes that we would need for the authentication. For the backend, we just have the sign up, login, logout, verify email, forgot password, and reset password. All of them are working as expected. We set up the emails, right? Let's take a look at them. Under the mail trap, we have all of our email functions, which were about 86 lines of code. We have the templates. We created 3 different templates, and one more in the dashboard, which was for the welcome email. And we have our configuration as well. I hope this makes sense at this point, and this is gonna be it for this section. Next, we're gonna build the front end part, and I'll see you in the next section. Okay, so welcome back. Let's continue by building a React application, which is going to be under the front end folder, right? I'll just open up my terminal and first just say cd into the front end and then just say npm create vid add latest, and I'll just put that at the end so that it creates that under the current folder. So let's go ahead and just say React and JavaScript, and then we'll just say npm install to get the node modules. Then we'll just run this application. And while this is installing that, we can just take a look at the Tailwind CSS setup because we'll be using Tailwind CSS for styling. And by the way, I have the demo application up and running at this port so that we can just take a look at this while we build our application. Okay, so let's just say vid Tailwind CSS, and this should show us the installation guide. So here, here we already created our project. Let's go ahead and install the Tailwind CSS. I'll just copy this and go here, just paste that. So it is going to first run this command, and once this is done, it'll run this one. Then we need to get this file and paste it into the tailwind config.js. So let's press enter for this command as well. This is the command that will actually create that file. Let's just wait. It should give us a tailwind config.js. Okay, so let's go ahead, delete everything in this file and just paste what we got. Then finally, we'll go ahead and update the index.css file. Under the source, let's delete everything, paste this, and we are not gonna need this app.css file. And the assets folder, let's just delete them, and we can go into the app.jsx, maybe just delete everything really. Let's just go here, just say h1 hello world, and we can give our classes. Let's just say class name text red 500, and let's just say text 5x large, which is going to make it to be 3 rem. Okay, let's save, delete this use state, and basically everything. We're not using any of them. Okay, so we can just run our application just to see if it is going to work or not, if the Tailwind CSS initialized correctly. Let's control click to this, and we can put them maybe to here. I'll just leave it like this. Okay, so it looks like it is working, right? This is text 5x large and with the red color, and this is the demo application. Now I'd like to just start with the sign up page, and for this we just need to set up our React Router DOM. So let's go into here and maybe just open up a new terminal and just make sure you cd into the front end, and you would say npm install, or let's say react-router-dom. Okay, so this is going to install that package so that we can really wrap our application with the browser router, right? I'll just say browser router, get this from React Router DOM, and wrap my application with it so that I can have different pages and linking in my application. So we'll go into the app.jsx, and from here, first maybe let's just give a couple of styles so that we have that green background color, right? I'll delete this, just wrap everything with a div. Let's say class name is going to be minimum height of screen. Then we'll say background gradient to bottom right, and we'll say from gray, I think 900 to, let's say via green, let's say green 900. And let me just shut this left hand side and give a little bit space so that it is readable. Let's say to emerald 900, this is going to be, and it'll say flex, items will be centered, justify centered, and I think it's going to be relative, as well as overflow is going to be hidden. So these are going to be the classes for the outer div. Then we'd like to have these floating shapes. So do you see, like, one we have here, second one is here, and also there's a third one, like it is almost in the edge of the screen, right? This is large, small, and medium size. And for this, we're gonna be creating a component. Let's just say source components. We're gonna put all of our components here, and let's just create one called floating shape.jsx. And this is going to be, let's first let's first see how can we call this. So we'll just say floating shape, and it is going to take a couple of styles or props, such as color. For the first one, let's just say it's going to be BG green of 500, and then we're going to give the size, let's say width 96, or maybe this is a bit too large. Let's just go with 64 and height 64. The top position, let's say it's going to be minus 5%, and we'll have the left position, let's just say this is going to be 10%, and we'll have a bit delay. Let's just say delay for this is going to be 0. Okay, so this is going to be for the first floating shape. Let's save to get this formatting, and we'll have two more. As I said, one large and medium and small. So large, medium, and small, we change the colors a little bit, as well as the positions with delays. And let's take a look at this component, how we can create it. Now, to make this, let me just get this, how do we call it? Like the snippet. To be able to get this, you need to grab this extension called ES7. Okay, it is this one. Once you install it, you can just say RAFCE to get this boilerplate code. And now to make them to be animated, we'll be using Framer motion. So let's open up the terminal, make sure you're under the front end, and then just say npm install framer-motion. So with this, we can really just put animations pretty quickly. And this is going to be not just a div, but it is going to be motion.div. Oops, let's just say motion.div. And we'll go ahead and import the motion from Framer motion. We'll see how this works just in a second. So this is going to take the props, such as color, size, top, left, as well as the delay props. And we'll just go ahead, give some classes. I'll say class name. This is going to be first, like dynamic, right? This would be taking the absolute, let's say rounded full, and it's going to take the color as well as the size, which are coming from the props. Then we can just give a bit opacity. Let's see, opacity is going to be 0.2, and blur is going to be X large, which is about 24 pixels. Then we can give the top left on top of it. So I think we could also just say top and left, just like this. And then we'll give the animate style. Let's say animate, which takes an object. Okay, just like this. And here we would like to just give the positions. So like in the y-axis, it's going to be first 0%, 100%, and then 0 back again. So I'll just get this and do the same thing for x-axis. And finally, the rotation, going from 0 to 360. And this is going to also take the transition. Let's say this would be an object. We can give a duration, so how long it is going to do this, which is going to be about 20 seconds. Let's say is going to be linear, and the repeat is going to be infinity, just like this. So it will be always doing the same kind of transition. And we can pass the delay, which is coming from the props. And so we don't really need this text, and this can be self-closed div. Okay, so since this is just for the decoration, we can even add area hidden to be true, so that it is not accessible by screen readers, which is a best practice that we should do. And now here we have a warning, which is coming from React prop types. So let's go ahead and disable this. From the ESLint, I'll just say under the rules, React/prop-types is going to be off. If we save this, hopefully it should get rid of that error. And let's try to import this. Now we can save and just test out our application. So there we go. This is how that works. But the positioning is not really working. So instead of putting it into the class, maybe we can grab this both of them and just put it into the style. So I'll just say style top and left. Let's see if this is going to work. Okay, there we go. It just works. This starts at the top, this is in the bottom, and the other one should be in the middle of the screen, but like outside of here, and it'll just pop in. Okay, so this is the exact same UI that we have just built. Next thing could be building the sign up page. So I'll just go into my VS Code. Let's close this one, close these, we don't really need them. We would like to create our routes. So I'll just say wrap everything with the routes, and we can put our specific routes. So let's just say route, import this, and let's say if we visit the home page, we would like to just say home page component for now, or maybe let's just return a text that says home. Then you'd like to have sign up as well as the login pages. So I'll just say sign up. In this case, we would like to see a component which we'll create just in a second. Let's say sign up page. And in the login case, we'll just do the exact same thing. Let's copy this, paste it, and the name is going to be login page. Let's create these pages. Under the source, a folder called pages, sign up page.jsx. Let's create this, save, close, and do the same thing for this one. That should be login page.jsx. Create it, save it, close it, and let's go ahead and import them. Okay, we cannot get the auto suggestion, so let's just do it manually. So import sign up page from this location as well as the login page. Let's try to see. If I visit the home page, I can see home. If I visit login page as well as the sign up page. Okay, let's start with the sign up page style, right? We just have a card in the middle of the screen with some input elements with a password strength element, as well as a button with a link at the bottom. So this is also going to be a motion div, because once we refresh this page, it just comes from the bottom, right? So let's go into the sign up page, make this to be a motion div. First, let's import the motion from framer motion. And this is going to be motion.div. Just like this, we're going to give some classes as well as initial animate styles. Let's say initially opacity is going to be 0 and Y direction is going to be, let's say, 20 pixels. And in the animate, the opacity is going to be 1 and Y will be 0 so that it is in the normal position. And the transition is going to be duration of half of a second. Then class name, what I can do, this is not really UI course, so I'll just maybe speed up the class name parts. Let me just save and try to explain. We give maximum width of 448 pixels. Width is going to be full in minimum, so it's just going to take the full screen in smaller screens. Background gray of this color, right? 800. Opacity will change a little bit, and we give these classes so that it has this kind of blurry background. And this is going to be our classes for the outer div. Let's give one more div with a padding of 8, and we'll go inside, just say h2 is going to be class name of, I'll just get the classes. So this will just make it to be look like this. So background gradient we have going from that green color basically. Okay, inside I'll just say create account. Okay, let's save. So this is how we can do background gradient in Tailwind CSS. We just say we're going to the right from this color to this color, and text will be transparent as well as background clip text so that we can really see that gradient is working. And then inside this we'll have, maybe below this we'll have a form. We're not going to need any actions. Let's just delete it. On submit we can have a function. Let's just say handle sign up. Let's create it. Just going to be taking the event, and it can just say prevent the default. And now for input elements, we would like to have some kind of reusable component, because if you can take a look at the UI, it is the same thing, just with different icons and placeholders, right? Same for this page as well as the login page. So what I'd like to do is just create a component for the input. I'll just say input.jsx, and let's see how this is gonna look like. I'll just say rafce get the code, and this would be first class name of, let's say, relative, and margin bottom of 6. And this is going to be taking some props. So let's say this is going to take an icon as well as all the different props that user pass. So that would be, let's say, placeholder, value, on click, that kind of thing. And since we'll be using this icon as a React component, we will just uppercase this. So this is how we rename it, and you'll see why we do this just in a second. And for the icons, we'll be using a package called Lucid React. So let's say npm install lucid-react, and make sure you're under the front-end folder. Okay, this is gonna go ahead and install it. Inside this input, we will first have a div. This is going to be holding the icon. So we'll just say icon and self-close it. This is going to be taking class name of width of 5 and height of 5. If you want to shorten this, you could basically delete it and just say size 5. It is the exact same thing. Then text green of 500. And now this is why we actually rename this icon. So this will be used just like a normal component, right? This is a self-closed, and we couldn't do it like this. We can just say this is going to be an icon. That would be an HTML element. So we rename this to be uppercase icon, so that this is a React component actually. I hope this makes sense. Let's just give some classes for this one. Absolute inset y of 0, let's say, left 0, flags items centered, and padding left 3, pointer events none, so user cannot really select it. Then below this, we'll have the actual input element, which is going to be not type of text. So this could be type of email, password, text, really anything. So that's why we are getting these props. So we'll just say it should take all the props, whatever user passes. Then we'll just give our classes. And in this case, I'll grab the classes and paste it. You can also do the same thing, but basically this just makes it to be look like this for the input element, right? So it has this focus state where it is accessible. It just looks nice. And so yeah, this is going to be the input element. Let's try to use one of them in the sign up page. So if I just go here and just say give me the input element that I just created, this is going to be taking some props, such as an icon. Let's say this would be taking the user icon coming from Lucid React. Let's go ahead and import it. Import user from, let's say, Lucid React. This is the icon. Then we are going to put the type. Let's say type will be text, and placeholder could be full name. So this is how we can create reusable components. Let's say value. For the value, we can just create a state. I'll say const, just say name, set name, and initially it's going to be an empty string. Let's just say this is going to be taking the name, and on change, we'd like to just update that state. Let's save and take a look at the output. So didn't I save this? Okay, for some reason, I cannot see it. Let me just refresh. Okay, so it just works out. This is how we created an input. If we want to create a different input, all we have to do, copy this, duplicate it, and just change the icon. Let's just say you would like to have the mail icon coming from Lucid React. Type is going to be email. Placeholder would be, let's say, email address. And on the value, we would put our state. So let's just get an email state and bind it. Say set email, and it should be good to go. There we go. This is how easy it is to just duplicate inputs at this point. I'll just make this to be duplicated. Icon will be log icon coming from Lucid React, which is this one. And type would be password. Let's just say password for the placeholder and create a state. Password. Oops, it should be set password. Okay, so there we go. This is the exact same UI that we just created. Below to it, we would like to have an like a component called password strength meter. So I'll just put a comment. Let's just say password strength meter. We'll just go